Hey guys, welcome to another 10-minute review. Today we have an action-packed shot from Makotora, a user on my Discord. He actually has a scene of two people fighting viciously, and it's a blockout, and it's a perfect time for me to actually give my feedback because obviously he's still working on the shot. So if I'm fast enough, he'll be able to actually see this and then implement the changes as he's working on his shot. So without further ado, let's do it. So, welcome to another video. My name is Harvey Newman, and if you're new here, well, I like to do animation reviews like these ones that you'll see next, and I like to talk about animation, games development, and now studio making, building, pounding. This is what I've been doing as of late with my studio called Proxima. So without going too much into that, let's check Makotora's animation, and then let's review it. Oh, but before that, I need to add a 10-minute timer, so let's do that. It's 10 minutes and counting. Now we can review it. Let's do it. So really cool. Makotora, I like where you're going with this. This is going to look very, very dynamic. This is going to look very cool. I like how you actually have all the angles so I can analyze it better. This is always useful when it comes to analyzing animations. Now, the things that I like a lot, and apologies because I have Windows Media Player instead of Keyframe MP because I have some issues with Keyframe MP at the moment that I'm debugging and troubleshooting. But either way, fingers crossed, with all the play and pause and play and all these other things that I have to do, it's not going to get too much in the way. So the things that I like a lot about your shot is how dynamic you are doing it, and also I think you're actually doing a really good job of grabbing the reference and then making the most out of the reference as you go through it. I really like it. I think that's actually really useful. And I think that you're focusing on also the main character, which is the character winning the fight, and less so on the enemy or the opponent that obviously is just there for the ride. And that is a really smart way to go about it, because a lot of the time, especially when I was getting started, I would actually focus on both characters with the equal amount of detail. And that is not necessarily a good thing because it doesn't allow you to actually push things very much, because when you're actually doing twice the work that you normally do, then it means that you actually become obsessed with this idea of like making sure that both characters are doing something very similar at the same quality, and it becomes a bit too much. If you actually focus on the main character first and then on the character that is actually reacting to the main character, it means that you can tweak that first character to the best of your abilities and push the animations and make things a bit more dynamic. And then when you actually go ahead and actually work on that second character and add detail, those details are going to take into account the pushed animation that you're doing for your main character. So just keep that in mind. There's always a main character and a secondary character. This is true for dialogue shots, for fight shots, for anything. Sometimes there's a dance between one character being the main and then the other character now slapping back or hitting back. Now they became the main. But either way, this dance of a fight or dancing, there's always a main and a follow, right? And that's what you have to keep in mind. So the fact that you did this is actually quite nice. Now, the things that I actually think that can be improved on, which is probably the things that you want to hear the most, are the following. I think that you're pushing the animations, which is really good. I can tell that like already like you are getting that need to actually stick really hard and all these other things. That looks really nice. But I think you can actually push it further. Also, I think there's a bit of more work that you can do with your spacing, timing, to make sure that things feel a little bit more aggressive and better when you actually go ahead and actually give that first punch, right? I mean, the punch is actually hitting really well and you are anticipating the position really well, but the arcs, for example, are not really working really well. Once again, I don't have keyframe MP, so I cannot draw on the screen. But if you actually pay attention, for example, here at this hand on the bottom, you can see here that the hand goes back, and then there's like a snap backwards here, which is okay. You can actually kind of like make that work maybe. But then when you go up right here, it feels kind of weird because there's a moment where she actually has like this hand here, it just feels kind of awkward and it loses shape, for example, right? So you can definitely work on that. And most importantly, that body, instead of actually having a pose that looks like semi like interesting, what you can do is actually get that pose to be more aligned. You never want to be in this in between here. Like you want to be like either here or all the way down here. Being caught in between for so long because you see so much of this looks odd. It doesn't look odd, but it kind of like loses the essence of the shot. You want to make sure that if you have an anticipation of something big, and make sure that you can see it, but not only that you see it, but you see it and it's like a hero pose, almost like a pose that you can actually kind of like just frame and just really feel, right? So that's basically what you're looking for. And here she's kind of like halfway through like a pose that might look good, but it needs to be pushed further than that. So that leg here on the back can definitely go back further in order to give you more of a back motion, right? As you are swinging the foot, swinging the fist. And the same thing here, when you swing that fist and the fist goes forward, man, this needs to be like a straight line from the fist all the way to the back of the foot, like 100% straight, like no bend, no whatsoever. Because the idea here is very much that whenever you go from like a C shape or a reverse C shape to then all the way straight really quickly, for example, it doesn't matter if it's a C shape or S shape, but the change of shape from you going from this to being like this and then going back to this very quickly gives you way much more dynamism, but also gives much more impact. So whenever you're punching something, specifically having that change from like being over here to then like all of a sudden be super straight, it will give you a massive sense of impact whenever you actually hit that face. So this is definitely something that you have to keep in mind. I really like how you actually going down here. You can bend even more if you actually want to do it like more stylized. And then I like this pose a lot. This is the pose that I like the most because it feels very pushed. It feels very cool when she actually kind of hits him on the belly. I'll go into the other character in just a bit, but like going back here again, same thing, right? You want to make sure that even when you go back there, you actually want to make sure that you are back. Your leg is not super straight because she's not really doing anything fast, but it has a bit of a bend. But you can definitely make it bigger than what it is right now. So when she actually does this leg over and then turn, it looks really, really cool and impactful, right? On this one here. Also, try to make sure that this leg is not like bent when it goes over the head to kind of like lock him in. Try to make sure that that leg is not only clear 100% of the head, because at the moment it feels like he's like going through the head. Try to make sure that it goes above the head, so basically the viewer can see this and actually understand what's going on, but also making sure that it's like slightly bent. It feels almost like she's about to do the same thing again, this here again, right? Like it feels like the same motion. So try to change the shape of that leg, not only to go clear of the head, but also maybe keep that leg straight as it goes up and then locks in. I think that would work. Yes, it would, because the leg is just going up. So I think that will be great. So going up and then basically locking the head with the foot and then turning around. So one of the things that I'm noticing here as well is that on this one, like as soon as you actually go past this point, the animation becomes a little bit more sloppy and it's not so clear. And this might be to do with just like I used to be fatigued very quickly whenever I was setting keys. My very first keys were like absolutely spot on and amazing, but my last keys were like a bit So you need to make sure that everything is read really well on your blocking. So that clear head, leg over head, and making sure that that foot is connected to the neck, because that foot is the hinge for the whole turn here, right? That foot doesn't stay on his neck. And then basically when you turn around here, like there's a moment of like absolute disconnect between here and then here, right? The enemy character just shows up in a completely different place. And then even when you're doing this stuff here, you can see that the head is going across all kinds of places around here, right? So I know that you're still working on it and there's still more work to do, but before you do any of the changes that I mentioned, make sure that the whole blocking is like solid and all your poses are like super like dynamic, and also everything reads and looks correctly. Make sure those things are right, because if you go further than your blocking without having those things absolutely nailed, including the opposite character, it means that you're going to run into problems very quickly, because you're going to try to figure them out later on when you are polishing or when you are actually in betweening or something like that. And that is definitely not the way to go, because you're adding more complexity to a workflow that is already complex. The animation, just animation in general, is complex. So do that. I hope this helps. Thanks for submitting the video to our feedback channel, Mokatora, and keep up the great work. Now, if you enjoy this, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. And thank you so much to all my patrons for supporting me every single month. If you like an animation review just like this one, then consider joining our Discord server. It's actually absolutely full of gems and information that is incredibly useful. But most importantly, if you submit your work to our feedback channel, then most likely it's going to end up here in the channel. I tend to select the animations that I want to actually see and help out when they are in a good stage and people are really working hard to make their shots better. So if you actually think that's you, join us and submit your work and I'll have a look. Until next week, stay well, stay safe. Peace.